Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Ancient Tomb Stompy decks. I love some energy decks. I love some Wasteland and some Pox and some Life from the Loam. But Soul Sisters might just be my favorite archetype of all time, and I'm very excited to play it today. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another modern video. And today Stanton has sent me a really cool multicolor Soul Sisters deck list. So back in my day, when this archetype kind of first was coming into light, it was a mono white deck. But we're going to be in a few different colors today, because as it turns out, this whole whenever a creature enters, you gain a life thing is not just a white thing anymore. We have seen this in green on cards like Essence Warden and Dina Soul Steeper. And we have seen these sorts of effects all sorts of times in black cards as well. It's oftentimes when things die, but some of them have the enter abilities as well. And the Starscape Cleric here is particularly interesting because when you get into the late game, this can scale up and you can produce 2 copies of it, which is pretty cool. So note that there are a couple of different similar abilities here. A bunch of these creatures are just simply whenever a creature or maybe a creature you control enters, you gain a life. And then there are the things that follow that up. Whenever you gain life, you do something, usually making an opponent lose 1 life. And we have that in Starscape Cleric, Dina, and then Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. And a bunch of these creatures have some other ancillary ability here that does something. And when I used to play this, there used to be a bunch of Ajani's Pridemate style cards in the deck that scaled up and got bigger in combat as you gained the life. But this time around, it is more of a direction for direct damage at the face when we gain life, which is cool. I haven't played it built quite like this before. We do have a pretty cool piece of tech here. Patch up, return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if a bunch of your things get wiped out, well, this is a cool way to follow that up. Being a 3-color deck that is this mana intensive on turn 1, wanting all 3 colors on turn 1 can be tricky. So the deck is doing Forbidden Orchard here. The damage that happens from 1/1s is not going to be that scary given the amount of life that we are likely to be gaining in these games, and the chump blocker doesn't matter too much either. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. There's a couple of fun things in the sideboard, notably Sun Cleanser, which can be tech versus energy deck, and Flare of Fortitude, which is a unique way to fight back versus board wipes. You can cast this by sacrificing a white non-token creature rather than paying its cost. Until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I was slightly surprised that we didn't see Ocelot Pride in this deck. It's not randomly banned in Modern, is it? Nope, doesn't look like it's banned. It really feels like that's low-hanging fruit with Guide of Souls, and you're gaining life just about every turn. This seems like a slam dunk in this deck. I'm surprised it's not here. So I'll just kind of keep that in the back of my mind as we move forward throughout this league. And let's jump directly into it. Although I should say one more thing. There is a sneaky Dryad Arbor in the mana base here. So when we have a fetch land, we will have the capability of fetching for a creature and triggering all of our various life gain things. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. If you are heading to MagicCon Atlanta, you can do what I did. Place your order online and conveniently pick it up on site, and you don't have to worry about whether or not your cards are going to get there in time. And you don't have to run around the dealer hall trying to hunt down a bunch of cards, which can be really stressful, especially if you have a competitive event. All right, let's battle. Well, we are poised to gain some life and some energy here. That is a funny looking Eldrazi temple, but it is clear what my opponent is doing. Let's go Temple Garden into Guide of Souls. And then next turn we have Guide of Souls plus Essence Warden. We've got some Dunes. no further play from there. I think I'm not going to start giving my opponent's creatures immediately. I'll lose some life here. I will do a Guide of Souls. K command for 1? Question mark? Yes, that is what's happening. Card went to the bottom. I guess I should think about my mana next turn. This seems fine. Let's just yield all the energy generation stuff and pass the turn. The next turn I can do a Soul's Attendant into one of Dina or the Starscape Cleric. Oh, it's Guide of Souls. I wasn't super expecting that. The Forbidden Orchard when my opponent has Guide of Souls is slightly more awkward. Alright. So let's do Yaw. Gain some life and energy. Just always yield to that. Do this. Fetch. I need black. Grab a Godless Shrine. I'm going to do Dina here. I don't know. This one flies. This one flies and maybe gets 2 points of damage in next turn. We are getting a response. My opponent is playing a Felia. So this does gain me life. We're just going to say always yes to that and always yield to that. And then this sort of nonsense is going to start happening. So, and we'll always yield to that as well. So I'm going to gain life. My opponent's going to lose some life. I am up to 3 energy. I will go to punchies. I will punchies. I will say yes. Put my counters on here. My opponent takes 3 and is at 13. Oh, and that was just good enough. Soul Sisters came out of the deck very, very quickly here. So my opponent is doing some Eldrazi version of what I am doing, question mark. I don't have the best idea of what my opponent is doing to evaluate some stuff like this. I might just run back the game 1 deck. Matchup might not be crazy good if my opponent is going to exile my stuff, either with white removal or with Kozilek's command. Could sub that for Battle of the Bywater, or maybe just an Auriok champion, just as another thing that gains life. Yeah, I'm gonna make that swap, just assuming that there's some Thought-Knot Seer type cards in there. I saw the Felia, right? Blinking a Thought-Knot Seer sounds kind of cool. This seems fine. There's a Waste, and there's Ocelot Pride. I think I just start by Thought Seizing my opponent. This has first strike anyway, so it's not like I'm blocking. Oh, it's warp nonsense. That makes sense. Let's stop the warp nonsense. So there's the dunes. And my opponent just has a massive advantage for being on the play here. They're going to get cats. So I know Felia is coming, which is annoying. I don't think I want to give my opponent stuff for Forbidden Orchard if I can help it. Do like a Temple Garden here. Take a little damage and get the life gain started. Opponent did not play Felia. Interesting. There's the temple. Opponent might be saving that. Yeah, opponent was saving that to pitch to Solitude. I'll still gain my life here. My opponent have the Ephemerate. Unfortunately, they do. I'll gain another life, but then I'm going to lose both of my creatures. And my opponent's got a pretty good board. So this is not great. And the Ocelot Pride will do the Ocelot Pride thing. Alright. So there's Soul Warden. There's Forbidden Orchard. The way this is going to work is this is going to gain me the life while Voice of the Blessed is still on the stack, unfortunately. So I gain that life. Then Voice is going to enter, triggering this, which will in turn trigger the Voice, giving me that +1/+1 counter. Now my opponent has a great board. Oh, there is another Felia. Well, that can knock those counters right off my Voice of the Blessed. That's not good. And there is just the rebound for the Ephemerate, which is also not good. So we'll see which way my opponent does this. Alright, they are attacking my Soul Warden because they can just knock the counters off of Voice of the Blessed with the Felia attack. I think I'm just going to lose this one. My opponent is on the play, and that difference is super noticeable here. Sure thing. This Felia Solitude thing is now happening. So I can go Guide of Souls into Dina and trigger something a bunch of times, but I think I am on the wrong side of this matchup here, at least for this game. I'll yield to that. Then this happens. And I'll yield to that. So I'll pass the turn here. That's a Starfield Shepherd. That's bad. Yeah, that gets Guide of Souls. I think I'm going to go ahead and tap out here. I think my opponent's got me beat. I unfortunately don't really have extra removal here. Like, I could do something like Sun Cleanser and make it so that my opponent can't gain energy. I don't know that that's actually better than just Thoughtseize or another random creature. I think I'm just going to play one more thing that gains me life. I don't love the shadowy backstreet here, but I don't think I am throwing back this hand. I think I'm going to start here, and I'm going to ignore... I really want to ignore Essence Warden as a card. The black of multiple Voice of the Blessed is rough here. I'm going to ignore Essence Warden as a card for right now, as awkward as that is. Oh, Anti-Causal Vestige. I just picked up one of these for Commander. So my opponent has Ocelot Pride plus Guide of Souls and Starfield Shepherd. I think my opponent's just going to run me over by being a faster deck here. And I can't take this and keep them off of all of their stuff. I'm going to take Starfield Shepherd and hope that I make it out of the early game. I don't know that I will. Ooh, that helps a lot, actually. So I will Thoughtseize you, Wrath of the Skies. Good to know about. I will take the Ocelot Pride here. Keep my opponent from assembling that, and now I'd like to find a green land. I'm going to say no to Thoughtseize. There's the land drop. Oh, sick. This is an Eldrazi, so that explains that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to fetch for some green. Oh no, I don't have untapped green. That doesn't hurt me. I mean, okay. There's 9. There's Essence Warden. There's 1 copy of Voice of the Blessed, and we'll just yield to both of those. We have Wrath of the Skies as something that is potentially looming, so I don't really want to overcommit to the board. Alright, so there's the Vestige. So when this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with 3 or less mana value into play. My opponent chooses a land. Oh, this Thoughtseize is cracked. Love that draw. Because now I can take the Wrath of the Skies that I know about and just do this. Yeah. Gain that life. Go to Punchies. Punchies for 5. Opponent's at 15. I know they've got a Felia coming. Alright, so there's the Anti-Causal Vestige coming back from Warp. Cleric? I'm not going to look at all my creature types right now to figure out what that's on. This is not a counterspell matchup, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, and yeah. We're going to get some triggers there, and we'll just yield to that. This is a 7/5, does not fly. You don't fly yet. You need 1 more counter to fly. I will hit you for 7. I could attack in and offer a trade. This thing could, like, fly in and just hit me for 9 next turn. I'll offer the trade. Opponent snaps it off. Oh shit, that's Leaves play. Right. Okay. That was wrong on my end. Then I should not have offered the trade. It's Warp, which is why my opponent did it on their turn. Got it. Oh, hate that. My opponent is going to end up losing 1 each time, though. So opponent's at 8 when the stack clears. They pick up Guide of Souls. So we're going to do this Song and Dance again. The problem here is that my opponent can knock these counters off my good Voice of the Blessed, which is what's happening. Ophelia is going to hit me for 4, and I am at the mercy of my top deck, I think. So my Voice of the Blessed comes back. This all happens again. That is a Dina. Dryad Druid, question mark? So play Dina. Triggers. Make my opponent lose some. What does this do? It's Dina that gets the power. Okay. So send it. Opponent can't block this. This has to be blocked. The other attack isn't good. Alright, so goodbye. 1 Guide of Souls. Opponent is at 3. This is a nail biter. I might have blown this one when I made the bad attack. Okay, cool. I did not blow it. My opponent concedes. We stumbled our way through that one. Did not read my Eldrazi properly. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay. I only have Dryad Arbor as a land here. That is not going to do it. The second hand is perfectly fine. I will keep this and throw back the Dryad Arbor. So let's start on a white-black land here. Go to 17. Drop a Guide of Souls. What? Oh, we are suspending 2 copies of Lotus Bloom. I put that Dryad Arbor on bottom. I fetched. It came back on top. Just here to have a good time. Alright, I'm going to fetch. We'll do white-green here. Throw down a Voice of the Blessed. So that's going to gain me a life and an energy, and then get a counter on Voice of the Blessed. And we are racing 2 copies of Lotus Bloom. When those come off of the stack, I don't know exactly what my opponent is going to do, but it is going to be some sort of nasty combo thing, and I am not going to like it. So I will go bam, Stern Scolding. You've got it. Then I will cast the Starscape Cleric instead. Disrupting Shoal. Well, shit, okay. I wasn't expecting that much disruption immediately. I thought I was going to be hitting for a lot more damage this turn. Opponent's Lotus Blooms are now at 1. Next turn is scary, and my opponent is still at 15. They don't have many cards. That's the good news. So there's a Dryad Arbor. I will gain 1 life, which gets me 1/1/1 counter here, but that's not the 3 energy that I would like to really ramp up my damage. I do not think that I have successfully dealt enough damage in the early game to race my opponent. Now maybe I'm wrong and I don't die this turn, but my combo opponent has 2 copies of Black Lotus in play, so yeah, okay, that's what we're doing. Well, my opponent's not activating immediately, so maybe I'm not deterministically dead. Okay, they are activating immediately. They are just waiting until my upkeep in case I have something tricksy I can do. 49 cards entered the reveal zone. I am at negative 33. What the fuck is in this deck? What is Tameshi? That's the bounce thing. You use that to rebuy Lotus Bloom. So is this, like, really in on Goblin Jarbelcher? And, like, technically it could hit me with some little dudes? Okay. My sideboard doesn't do a lot versus this, huh? Like, the Kataki probably does not matter versus Lotus Bloom. The Deafening Silence maybe doesn't actually matter all that much. My opponent wants to play 1 spell and activate it. I guess if my opponent is doing some Tameshi nonsense, this could matter. I might just be running back the game 1 deck, or very close to it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to run back the game 1 deck. So this is Guide of Souls into Dina, into maybe 2 copies of Soul Warden, maybe. The mana is a touch awkward here. I suppose Seiju is really bad. I have Forbidden Orchard with double Soul Warden and Dina. That is a decent amount of reach. I am not thrilled. I think I am actually going to start on Soul Warden here. You just start gaining that life as quickly as possible. If I push my life total high enough, technically I could live through a Goblin Charbelcher combo, but I think that has me, getting to like 50 life. I don't know how realistic that actually is. Lotus Bloom in exile, and a tapped land. Okay, that's not bad. I think I wait on the Thoughtseize until this is about to go off. Let's go white-black with this land, which will put me to 17. Let's optimize it this way. Yield to that. And I'll do the Soul Warden here. We'll gain my opponent a life, and then I'll gain a couple of life. And I'll chill here. Then next turn I have Dina, followed by a Thoughtseize. And I could potentially wait even longer, I guess. Alright, cool. There are also lines where I Boseiju a Lotus Bloom, I suppose. I am not tuned into this format enough that I know all of the things that my opponent's deck is capable of in post-sideboard configurations. That is a Disrupting Shoal. Sure. So I'll follow that up with Thoughtseize. Gain some life. Ah, 2 Goblin Charbelchers. Shit. I guess I'll take a land that also happens to be a counterspell. Not happy overall. My opponent just gets a tapped land this turn. So here's Vito. An extra mana would have gone a long way here, but this is fine, I suppose. So let's just always yield to that and drain my opponent out a bit. I only have 2 energy, so I can't attack. These blockers are real. So now if my opponent draws another mana source, they kill me this turn. If not, they probably get me next turn, and it doesn't look like I have enough damage to be doing lethal next turn. There is a Charbelcher in play, and that is a tapped land. Okay. That's so tragic. I don't have the next mana for that. I play Essence Warden. I'm gaining 3 life, which means that my opponent is going to lose 3 life from the Vito as well. That puts me up to 3 energy, so I can attack for 3 more and then die, presumably. I'll get those counters. I'll save this on the off chance that I'm not dead somehow. But, like, my opponent is at 11. And I can get 4 more. Oh, wait, what if I did this on my turn? I could have attacked with 1 more creature. So this is 3 damage. Alright, so my opponent is just going to belch me in response. That's fine. So just doing the math, if I do this on my turn, I deal 3 more damage from these plus 3 more damage. That's still not lethal. And I'm still at negative 19, so the life gain was not enough there. Alright, GG's. Okay, I think my hand is mediocre. I am good versus counterspells. My first couple of creatures here are just clerics. Alright, my opponent begins with Ugin's Labyrinth, putting in all his dust under there, which is potentially a very problematic card for my deck that is trying to go wide with a bunch of small bodies. And I absolutely do not want to be drawing more land right now. I really need more creatures to pair with what I've got going on here. Power Plant into Fleshraker. Okay, I've got a Solitude for that. That's not the end of the world. We will go bam. Yes. Get a Cleric. Yield to that. We'll yield to that. We'll Solitude. Pitching Witch Enchanter. We'll take out Glaring Fleshraker. We'll gain some life. You'll lose some life. I'm on 2 energy. Attack for 1. But I've only got a Dryad Arbor coming after this. So, like, it is turn 2 and I am out of gas, which I am unhappy about. Opponent has 2 pieces of Tron naturally. And a little bit of ramp. And another Fleshraker. Fuck! Yup. Well. Yeah. Fetch. Dryad Arbor. Gain the life. Go to Punchies. Punchies. Yes. Put counters on Guide of Souls. My opponent takes 5, but I don't have anything else. I am on empty. There's Tron on turn 4. Opponent puts all his dust to hand. Cool, cool, cool. So, yeah. I'll take 2. Ow. This is a very expensive Thoughtseize. I'm going to do it. I'm just unhappy about it. Alright, we took a Karn. Opponent is just going to cycle that Mind Stone. There's a new Mind Stone. Glaring Fleshraker is going to bleed me out. There's a basic waste. Is this a sacrifice? This is a sacrifice. So my fancy white indestructible spell I don't think saves me there. Hate this. Alright, the Thought-Knot Seer can enter play. I have nothing good in hand. I'm at 7 when the stack clears, and I'm taking 2 more in combat. I am just dead to Thought-Knot Seer, plus Glaring Fleshraker attack next turn. And I don't know exactly what gets me out of it. Maybe that one revive a bunch of creatures thing, question mark. I don't even know that that does it. The stuff in my graveyard's not that great. But let's surveil. Patch up. Alright, so I can get Guide of Souls plus this Cleric. Plus Dryad Arbor, gain 2, go to 6. Sure. That buys me another turn, I guess. We'll do this not tapping the Forbidden Orchard. I don't need to give my opponent a 1/1 right now. No way. Alright, well, that'll do. Absolutely run over, was not close. Sideboard doesn't feel great for this. I don't even know that I'm going to sideboard. Like, I don't have anything here that's too insane. No, I need more mana than that. This is fine. I will keep this and pitch the redundant Dina. Opponent reveals a Devourer of Destiny. I will say yes. Throw down a Guide of Souls. Opponent gets their trigger. And some big stuff goes to exile. Opponent just gets a Soul Land on turn 1. Rough. So I'm going to hold my white card in hand in case I need to deal with a Glaring Fleshraker. I'll just play out a Dina, but the Dina is not great without enablers. Opponent's got 4 mana. There is a Thought-Knot Seer. I think I'm just going to let that resolve. It's slightly awkward. But I really think I need this card. Otherwise my Dina is just not good. And my Forbidden Orchard also won't be good. So I can do this. You don't have any menace or anything. I'll do that and pass the turn. I'm just not aggroing very hard here. And I think that means that my opponent is going to start getting to 7 drops and just obliterate me. Well, there's the Glaring Fleshraker I wanted to be able to answer. So let's just always yes to this, always yield to this, and always yield to that. Opponent is going to bash me for 4. That's fine. That can happen. I'm already at 12. You can have a friend, which will do this whole song and dance. Oh my god, it's colorless for Glaring Fleshraker purposes. I'm upset. Well, we are playing Magic the Gathering cards. That is what we're doing. So there are going to be a lot of things triggering. My opponent's at 15. I don't have good attacks. Vito has Death Touch? Nope. I am a liar. Is there a different Vito that has Death Touch? Doesn't matter. I think my opponent... Oh no. Thought my opponent was going to play a 7-drop. It is another Glaring Fleshraker, which is rough. Our life totals are going to jump around a ton here. All right, I'm going to stop yielding through this turn so that I can save targets for Vito. Save targets, always yield. All right, now I'll F6 again. So life totals go up, life totals go down. This is where we're at when the stack clears. When it's sacking a spawn, there's a Karn. 8 that. Opponent is at 7 when that all clears. Karn tutors. A Walking Ballista is quite good here. So the Glaring Fleshraker triggers happen. So this drains my opponent for a bit. So I'll do that again. Opponent is at 3. Then Walking Ballista enters. I do this again. My opponent is at 1. I'm taking the 4. I'm taking the 4. I am at 4. Alright, I need to draw a land. Oh wait, no, my opponent let me untap. Right? So they let me untap, so I just get to do this. So I take the damage first, and then that happens. So my opponent didn't kill it on their turn, so I get the guaranteed kill when they try to kill it. That's great. Would I have drawn the land? I would not have drawn the land, so I wouldn't have been able to patch up, get it back. But I could have played Essence Warden and then tapped this. Okay, so I had them either way. That was a weird game. Yeah, this doesn't take counters off Planeswalkers. I just don't feel like any of my cards do anything in the sideboard. Like, I could try to lower my curve a little bit. Patch up is really slow on the draw. I mean, even Kataki's really slow on the draw. My opponent can play a Mana Rock on turn 1. Sometimes they don't. This is fine. I don't think it's crazy good, but it's fine. The shadowy backstreet is a bit of a liability in this hand. Mine and map. So energy is the plan. It's probably white-green. I will Temple Garden, play Guide of Souls, and pass. Okay, cool. It's not a Tron piece. That's the good news. So I will throw down a Guide of Souls immediately. I just always yield to that. Then I am unfortunately locked into giving my opponent a creature here. But the hope is that I get to fly. Assuming everything just resolves here. It does. So I'll send in, say yes, get eaten by Warping Whale, and I'll pass. I am pretty close to empty here. I don't have energy. I don't have a payoff card. If I pitch Soul's Attendant to Solitude to get rid of something like a Glaring Fleshraker, I'm not actually in awesome shape here. That is a Thought-Knot Seer. I'll gain a life. This body is a big deal right now. I will go ahead and Solitude despite the awkwardness here. I will take out the Thought-Knot Seer. I will gain 2 life in process. So I now draw a card before Thought-Knot Seer's first ability resolves. I drew a land, so my opponent is not taking anything. That's the good news. But the bad news is I have 3 lands in hand. My opponent has 3 cards and 2 expedition maps queued up to get to huge amounts of mana. That's not great. That is a card that has text. I don't think this is good enough. I'm gonna send that to graveyard. I'm gonna bash in for 1, unfortunately. Without a payoff card here, I don't really see a path forward to winning. Cracking a map. There is a power plant. The next turn is the big mana turn. Opponent sends in. I'll take that. That's fine. 22. I can gain 2 life here, but it costs me 2 damage, so I think I'm going to do the 2 damage. That's another land. That's very bad. I think we have flooded out and lost the game. 21. So this can now get tower, and it does. So what horrible, awful thing happens to me? Yeah, no. Absolutely not beating that. GG's. Alright, this opening hand doesn't do anything. I have no payoff card here for gaining life. I'm going to mulligan this one. This needs another land, but has a lot of potential. I will reluctantly keep this one. Wooded Foothills, passing the turn. I don't think this is Guide of Souls first. I think this is Essence Warden or Thoughtseize first. I think I am going to go Essence Warden. I think I just have to build an engine and hope that Voice of the Blessed scales up very aggressively. I have no idea what my opponent is doing yet. Elegant Parlor. Maybe energy nonsense. Bloodstained Mire as a follow-up land. Opponent holds back. Oh, I do hit the next land drop. That is great. I'm gonna fetch... What is my plan here? Essence Warden into Thoughtseize? I think Essence Warden into Thoughtseize, which means that I want this land to be green. Maybe white as the secondary color. So there's Essence Warden. Opponent must have a removal spell. They're sitting here thinking about my creatures. Let's just always yield to that. And then let's see what's going on. Gain some life. What is this? Destroy target creature with flying. Destroy target enchantment. Draw a card. Create a food token. I understand absolutely nothing that is happening on the other side of the battlefield. Getting time walked by Reprieve isn't great, but it's not a permanent answer to a card. Whereas Prismatic Ending and Leyline Binding are permanent answers to cards. I'll take out a Leyline Binding here, I think. I don't understand what's going on with this, unless this is like, I need to destroy an artifact to make something cool. I feel like it's called like Indomitable Creativity or something like that. There's a Boseiju. Opponent not using their white mana, and also not attacking. So here is my bait. Alright, that resolves successfully. Probably means this next one doesn't. Do white-black here. Play a Voice of the Blessed. Gain 2 life. That's good enough for the Reprieve. I'll pass the turn here. Alright, opponent makes a food token, and presumably is going to take out my Guide of Souls. And it is my goal to make an absolutely massive Voice of the Blessed. Or maybe two of them. So I'll do one now. Let's just always yield to that. I'll go to combat. I can send in for 2 now before I give my opponent another potential blocker. Then I can fetch another white land. Secondary color shouldn't matter at this point. There's a Godless Shrine. There is another Voice of the Blessed, and these are going to get big very, very, very quickly. So one of those is an 8/8 already. But we'll see if my opponent just does some broken combo nonsense that dumps a creature into play that I can't beat. So some spirits get sent in. I'll take 2 instead of 4. A lightning bolt takes out one of mine. That's fine. We will just do some gross stuff. So there's a cleric. What does this do at like 8 counters? 10 or more for indestructible. Sure thing. Let's always yield to that. Yeah, there we go. I'll go to punchies. I will send in. After no blocks, I will give my opponent a creature. Alright, my opponent gains 3 life. No blocks. Have a black mana me. So, we do this whole thing. Yeah. And yeah. So my opponent is taking 14 and going to 1 life. I have a 12/12 flying indestructible vigilance creature. Hell yeah, they lightning bolt themselves on the way out. GG's. I don't exactly understand what's happening over there. Alright, Indomitable Creativity says, destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until an artifact or creature is revealed. So it looks like Archon is the only creature in the deck. So it looks like me giving my opponents tokens here is actually like disastrously bad. I can do this to annoy food tokens. This technically answers an Archon. What is a singleton? I could do this to try to just fight back versus removal. I get rid of Abrupt Decay. I'm going to turn that into another Soul Sister. I'm going to get rid of Patch Up. I'm not even sure that Solitude's good. Bam, bam, bam. Hope to win 1 of 2 games via beatdown. The ETB tapped land is really fucking rough in this deck. Like, I know the Surveil lands are strong, but I need to 1/2 curve out every single game. And this Shadowy Backstreet is not doing me favors. It's fine as long as I hit a land drop in 2 draws. Archon directly to graveyard. I'm gonna do this and throw down Guide of Souls immediately in hopes of drawing an untapped land for the following turn. Alright, opponent passes. That is an untapped land. I guess I will just attack for 1. Yeah. Opponent's at 19. And then go... Yeah. And I think I am just going to throw down this one. It's kind of annoying. This might be good enough to get a counterspell out of my opponent's hand. No counterspell. Opponent fetches and gets a Triome. What colors is this? Naya. Okay. Opponent's got everything but black. Fable. Yes, I would like to gain the life. My pro red is more relevant than I suspected it would be. Now I think I play a payoff card. This is another creature. Let's do this one. It represents a lot of damage. So always yes, always yield. Yield to all energy stuff. Yield to that. We've got triggers. I am at 2 energy. Again, this tapped land is a little rough. Thoughtseize? We honestly might be past the point of that being relevant. I will send in with my pro-red creature 15. So now my opponent gets to loot. Oh, those are some scary cards that just went away. Alright, so it was Indomitable Creativity. So this attacks in. I am fine with blocking to destroy this token, even if it ends up costing me this creature. Alright, that has resolved. There is a lightning bolt. Opponent fetches a Dwarven Mine. I gain more life. there's the creativity. So my opponent gets an Archon. I'm going to get rid of Guide of Souls here. Get rid of Kataki. I don't have many outs to this. So there's a Soul's Attendant. There's a Cleric. I'll just always yield to that. Always yes. Always yield. There's a Forbidden Orchard. I'll do a Soul's Attendant. And my Starscape Cleric is going to see 2 different instances of life gain. I guess I missed 1 point of damage by not attacking with this prior to that being created. So that's a my bad moment. I think this Archon is just real bad news for me. Even if the Cleric does deal a lot of damage here. The opponent has a removal spell. They didn't do that with optimal timing, but I don't know that it's going to matter. You're going to make me say yes to those differently? Vito, please. So I will sack the champion here. Take 6 damage to the face. Next turn, my opponent just gets to copy this and hit me for 18. Seems bad. Yeah, I can gain some life, but we are not beating that combination. So we did not successfully aggro. Like, do I want these? It feels like I am just trying to kill the opponent before they do their thing. I'm going to stick with my plan of trying to kill my opponent. You know, double Thoughtseize hand is great in theory. That is not doing it in practice. This is fine. I'm going to keep this and get rid of the ETB tapped land. This doesn't leave me with white. I'm going to ignore that. All right. Let's fetch. White-black. Soul Attendant. Last turn. So I have Soul Attendant into Dina, hopefully into Vito as well. ETB tapped land. Witch Enchanter. That does mean that I can fully curve out. Alright. Take a lot of damage from my own cards here. Always yes. Always yield. Always yield. Punchies for 1. 18. There are some cards that my opponent has that will just single-handedly win the matchup, like a Brotherhood's End that just wipes 3 to 4 of my creatures. Will be devastating, and I don't think I come back from it. Arid Mesa, you've got it. That is not what I am looking for here. Play this, say yes. I am at 13 despite being a life gain deck. Oh, cool. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to hit the Soul Attendant there, because that's the thing that gains the life and triggers the Vito. But I'm very glad they didn't, because now I have a better next turn. I get Soul Warden into Dina, and I'll trigger Vito a bunch. There's a Lightning Bolt. Okay, we're going to just remove the Vito. That's fine. Yikes. That feels like GG. Like that is just disastrous. So because I have a single white land, I can't play Dina and Thoughtseize. I'm going to just Thoughtseize for my turn, but cool. I guess I will take this card. But I can't play Soul Warden directly into Wrenn and 6. This just means that my opponent gets to draw an extra fetch land every turn of the game. I think we're done. I just don't get to accumulate card advantage here. I guess I Boseiju that before it does its thing. But now my opponent is +2 mana every turn. 1 from Fetchland, 1 from Goblin Shaman. These are just going to become castable. I don't see the way to a win. Opponent fetches and surveils. This is 2, 4, 5, 6 lands, 7, and 8. Yeah, not this turn, but the following turn. Archon is just castable. Concede? I think I'm going to take my next draw step and concede. I assume there is... Yeah, with Treasure Token, there's definitely 2 black available. Yep. No, we just got absolutely hosed by that Wrenn and 6. GG's. Okay. This hand doesn't do anything. It Thoughtseizes, but there is no plan to win the game. I'm just going to mulligan this one. I think I would like to try to be the aggressor. I'll keep this. I'm going to keep this land for some selection and throw back the Abrupt Decay. Do a white-black land here. Go to 17. Throw down my Soul Warden. If this Soul Warden dies, my whole hand kind of falls apart. Because I don't have another source of life gain here. Alright, we have already figured out that this is conceptually very scary for us. And then we don't have sideboard cards for the matchup. Okay. Well, that is a thing that has occurred. So I'm gonna fetch. I want green-white so that I have white-white for Voice of the Blessed. Yeah. I am at 14 already. So always yield. Always yield. Munchies. 18. Opponent has 3 mana now. 4 mana for next turn, maybe 5. It is a second Mind Stone. I'm going to absolutely just get run the fuck over. I will surveil. I need a non-1 drop hit. 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7. I have a white card for this. This is not really what I want. It might be what I need to try to remove something like this. I am going to very, very reluctantly keep that on top. But I'm not happy with how this is going. Oh, am I going to get, like, dismembered? Oh, cool. I'm very glad that I still have my Soul Warden. That I still do some things. Otherwise, I just had a pair of 2/1s with no other text. There's a Mine. There's a Thought-Knot Seer. If my opponent takes the Soul's Attendant, I can't use the Solitude that is on top of my library. Fuck. Yep. You fly. Send in. Opponent's at 9. That's bad. Opponent chooses Walking Ballista and does not play it immediately. That Walking Ballista for 2 is going to just beat me. I can hit for 2, put my opponent to 7, hit for 1 more via a Soul Warden trigger. Yeah, I don't think I am getting there. We're going face. I think if I win this one, I win because my opponent plays a Kozilek's command and kills himself or something. Alright, there's the Walking Ballista. I will respond by making a white mana. That gives you a spirit. I'll drain 1, you're at 6. Then this happens, I gain a life. While this trigger is on the stack, my opponent should kill my Soul Warden. Or both of my creatures. Dealer's choice, really. I will eat 4 damage. I am at 15. Karn tutors on top of all of this. And gets a coating that can start going after my lands. Reasonable. So I now have 5 mana. I guess let's do this way. Let's see if my opponent wants to stop me from gaining this life. They do not. So I'm going to cast a Solitude. And I hate everything about this. I feel like if I don't remove the Walking Ballista, I lose to it. But I think I just lose to my opponent's other resources. So I'm going to remove this, but maybe it's correct to just try to draw another card. I don't think I beat my opponent funneling mana into this, though. My opponent will gain 1 after removing 1 counter to kill my creature. So my opponent has the larger creature on board. They have Chalice on 1, so a ton of my things aren't threatening. They have Sire of 7 Deaths chilling under a land that they can pick up in a little bit. Everything is just bad. I will take 4 on top of everything else. My Solitude can't attack in because I'm giving my opponent spirits. I think this is the point where I can probably give it up. Like, I can play this as 1 body, attack in, deal 1 damage. And as we already kind of saw, I don't really have valid sideboard cards. I think for just about any matchup. I'll turn Patch Up into the Battle of Bywater. Maybe we can get a couple of Katakis in here. I could go down Thoughtseizes to better play around Chalice of the Void naturally. Like, am I fully on the hope my opponent stumbles and do something like this train? I don't know. ETB tapped land, not gonna do it. 0 lands, not gonna do it. We are on 5. The 5-card hand is passable. I'm gonna keep bam, bam. Fetch, do white, black, and do Soul's Attendant. Power plant into map. That's fine. I think I want this to be able to attack next turn. So I think I will go bam, bam, hit you for 1, cast this. My opponent will get 1 friend, and then I will gain some life. And then I can play Soul Warden into Soul's Attendant and also activate a Forbidden Orchard and get a lot of damage off of my Cleric. Alright, Swamp is not a Tron land, so that is at least good for me. Okay, so there is a Soul Warden. Always yes, always yield. There will be some triggers here. I will now cast a Soul's Attendant. Honestly, we're not responding to that. So, we will start with the triggers. Cool. This one enters. We'll do this for another set of 2 drains. That'll put opponent at 13. I will send in for 2. Opponent is at 11. I'll do this last one in their upkeep. So this last spirit token can't attack on the off chance that that becomes relevant. Hers is mine. Sure. White mana. This is now a drain 3 with each one of these activations. Yes. Opponent is at 8 when that stack clears. Alright, we out-aggro the opponent there from a mulligan to 5. Now, like, on the draw, do I want these? No. Opponent dies before about turn 5, or they don't die at all. This is fine. We've got a Devourer of Destiny trigger to kick off the game here. What all ends up in exile? A mix of stuff. So, I guess I want to play Dina. I guess I'll fetch here. Go Temple Garden with this. Do a Soul's Attendant. My opponent is going to have turn 3 Tron. I think they are just going to outpace what I am doing, unfortunately. I'm going to do this. Say yes. Do Voice of the Blessed. And I can do some cool things with this in a minute, but always yes. Always yield. Always yield. Send in for 1. Opponent's at 19, but opponent has 7 mana on turn 3. Even if I can do some very gross things, I just don't know that I come back from my opponent casting a 7-drop here. Is it Devourer of Destiny? Nope, it's Ugin. Yep. Like, I don't have any card in my deck that answers an Ugin. My opponent gets 3 more mana, or just more life and cards here. So I can do a Soul's Attendant into a Dina. I just can't beat things that size. That's not something my deck does. I'm dead. And that is a pretty bad 1-4 league. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Stanton, this is going to be hard to hear, but I think you fully have to go back to the drawing board with how this one is built. I think every portion of the deck is misbuilt. And it's hard to hear that sometimes when you've got a pet deck you've been working on. But I don't think this deck works. I think the mana is very tough. There are a bunch of lands that don't contribute to either white for this on turn 2, or to Dina, or to doing Guide of Souls into 2 white creatures, or 1 white creature, 1 green creature on turn 2. I think there are too many different lands that don't do what you want, and I think this is exacerbated by the fact that you have 3 different lands that aren't functional the turn that they are played. The way this deck conceptually, I think, wins is it just like plays 1-drop into double 1-drop into like 2-drop 1-drop or something like that. And I think you do not get time to mess around with these lands like Dryad Arbor and Lush Portico and Shadowy Backstreet. I think you might not even want a single one of these in the deck because it is so important for you to curve out. And I know the power of these cards is real, but I think these were more of a detriment than a positive. And since your curve is so tight and low to the ground, you often don't have the mana to waste like some other decks might that are waiting to play more expensive cards or are in a play pattern where they will do like a 1-drop and then just do a Surveil land for the remainder of their turn. That's not how this deck plays out. I think this deck deals an exceptional amount of damage to itself. So there were some times where I was like at 13 very quickly despite being a lifegain deck. I don't know that we would even consistently beat something like Burn because we deal so much damage to ourselves. Like, I am very worried. So I think the mana base has to fully be redone. Forbidden Orchard does some cool things with the universal life gain creatures. that might be worth keeping, but it does mean sometimes that you are generating blockers for things like Voice of the Blessed. So that is awkward. And I am not sure if the ratio of shocklands is correct. So looking at this, there's pretty... Oh, I guess there is, if we count this as a black card as well. I fetched for Temple Garden a surprising amount, which makes me think that there might need to be a second Temple Garden in there. Despite the fact that on paper it looks like this should be white-black heavy, I wanted Temple Garden a lot. Moving on to the creature stuff in the deck, I am unsure how much you want to be interacting with your opponent versus just trying to goldfish your opponent in Game 1 scenarios. I don't play much Modern. It would not surprise me if it was just correct to cut all of these cards and just go full aggro and just round out the 1 and 2 drop slots with 8 more threats. Just 4 more Ocelot Prides, 1 more Voice of the Blessed, and probably what that leaves us with, like 3 slots. Maybe a creature that can double as removal that is actually castable early. You run out of cards to pitch to Solitude pretty easily. If we take Solitude out of the main deck, then you can get rid of Witch Enchanter, and that also helps with the mana problems, right? Because if you play a Witch Enchanter, that's something that never contributes mana to Dina, which is a pretty big deal. Dina being a legendary creature came up a few times as well. And as far as the sideboard goes, like, I am not a Modern expert or anything, but it just felt like the stuff that I had didn't matter. I did not feel like I had slam dunks in the sideboards. I did not have anything that interacted with my opponent's lands. I did not have anything that interacted with my opponent's large spells. My Deafening Silence wasn't particularly relevant versus the combo deck that I played. I wonder if you need some things like Disruptor Flutes because you are so bad versus Planeswalkers in particular. Those large threats were just catastrophic. And because you are giving your opponent's creatures with Forbidden Orchard, attacking the Planeswalkers in combat seems rough. Ocelot Pride, I guess, kind of helps with that problem. You can go wide easier. You're just so consistently going to gain life with this deck. It doesn't have to be Guide of Souls plus Ocelot Pride, Soul Warden, Soul Attendant, Essence Warden. Like, there's so many things that are going to help trigger this. But Stanton, I think you are in for a full rebuild. And hopefully what I said today is helpful to you in doing that rebuild, because I don't think we're hyper competitive as of right now. I will say I really like the Starscape Cleric tech. I like the approach that this deck has of trying to deal direct damage. And it may be that Modern, which has more removal than Legacy does on average, like, you can't be as reliant on the Ajani's Pridemate style cards. But I feel like we need to lower this curve, tighten things up, make the mana better, redo the sideboard, and maybe we've got something. All right, I've been rambling for a while, but I really enjoy this archetype, so Stanton, good luck in trying to sort of push this further. And with that, I'm going to call it a day here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any thoughts, especially if you know the Modern card pool well, please throw them down in the comments below. And have a great rest of the day. See you.